How is your confidence? Would you say you have a lot of confidence, or would you say you don't have any confidence? Well, what if I told you that I really believe that we all have very strong confidence inside of us for certain things, and then other things in our lives we don't have confidence at all? Let me tell you a little story. When I was in my 20s, I decided to drop everything and go off to Maui for a 6-week health and fitness school. Now, I know you're probably laughing and saying, oh, that must have been hard going off to Maui, but it really was hard. It was really intense every day being in school, learning with other people that I was living with that I'd never lived with before. But we were in courses pretty much 5 days a week. We had excursions on the weekend, but all those excursions played into the course. And one of those was doing a hike into a dormant lava tube. So imagine you are in Maui or in the Hawaiian Islands, and you know there's active volcanoes. There are trips that you can take in a helicopter and see lava there. You can actually view it. And so here I am getting ready to drop into this dormant lava tube, and the lava tube, it's empty and it doesn't have lava in it, of course, but your mind does race and you have a hard time understanding, could this erupt? Could there be other things that happen when you're down there? So it was intense for me, and my brain was offering me lots of things that made me feel very, very vulnerable, and I didn't want to be there. And I remember them, dropping us in. I think the hole was about 5 feet, and then you dropped in, and then you had to have a light to see where you were going. There were spaces that you had to shimmy through to get through to the other side. And I want to say that the hike was about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. So it wasn't a quick trip. So oftentimes we would have to help one another get through the tube, because pretty much everyone there, except for the excursion, the people who were leading it, had moments of doubt, had moments of what the heck are we doing here? But I vividly remember coming out the other side of the lava tube, seeing the light and climbing out, one, being extremely relieved, of course, that we successfully made it through the lava tube without any event, but also the amount of confidence that was built from that excursion was beyond anything I had ever really experienced. And at that moment, that very special moment, I believed I could do anything. My confidence was blown up into a huge space that could take up the world at that moment. Interestingly enough, I believe that you can do things to build your confidence. Yes, you can hike lava tubes or jump out of airplanes, or you can do things that will help build your confidence. There's that part of it. But I also believe there are things that are practical, easy, everyday things that you can do to help build your self-confidence. And today, that's exactly what we'll talk about. Welcome to the Crazy Confidence Coach podcast. I'm on a quest to help you find the most confident version of you. I help women become the most authentic version of themselves by helping them find clarity around who they are and who they want to be. My goal is to help women sift through all that noise that they have in their head about who they should be or who they shouldn't be, and create a plan to be exactly who they want to be. You don't have to continue to live with anxiety, high stress, and overwhelm. You can, little by little, get back to a place of peace and live with more contentment than you ever thought possible. You don't have to merely survive day to day. There is a life waiting for you, thriving. Grab your coffee, your favorite colored pen, and a pad of paper, because we're headed out to find your confidence today. Welcome back. I'm glad you're here listening in to how to build self-confidence. Today, we're going to list several things that can help you, tips and tricks that can help you practice building your self-confidence. Eventually, if you practice these things, if you keep giving time and energy to working on your confidence, you will see an increase in your confidence. First and foremost, I think the number one thing is just practicing your self-care. If you don't practice taking care of yourself, then really and truly, you don't have the ability to take care of anyone else. So what is involved in self-care? Think physical and mental health, your physical activity. We're exercising regularly and getting your endorphins and improving your mood and enhancing your self-esteem by getting that movement in. Keeping up with a healthy diet. Making sure that you're getting proper nutrition, or making sure that you have enough nutrition to get good energy levels out and have a good well-being. I will tell you a quirky thing about me, and I can't remember if I've ever talked about this, but for me, I have a small intolerance to corn products. And corn literally just makes me emotional and I don't cope well. So I know if I sit down and have corn chips and I have corn enchiladas, I am going to have an issue within 24 to 48 hours with my emotional state and how I respond. You need to learn your own body, your own needs, and take care of that. That is part of self-care. The other piece of self-care is prioritizing your sleep. If you aren't getting enough rest, your body doesn't have time to go in and repair itself and take care of itself. So keep that in mind. If you're getting enough sleep for yourself or not getting enough sleep, it impacts how you show up in the world. For me, I need more sleep than my husband does. It's just a fact. And people may argue that over and over. I've had people tell me, oh, you can get up earlier. You don't need that much sleep. You just have to train your body. And I absolutely disagree with this. And if you look into the most current research in this is simply just not true. So make sure that whatever your body is requiring for adequate sleep, that you're getting it. Then you need to really concentrate on building positive relationships. I say you need to have a positive relationship with yourself first and foremost. That is a foundation that you need in order to be successfully confident in life. Bottom line, if you are a person of faith, I say that you truly need a foundation in your faith, and that is a big thing as well. If you're spending time with people who are tearing you down or you feel inadequate when you're around them, that is doing nothing for your self-esteem. Make sure that you limit those negative influences and increase the positive relationships that you have that you surround yourself with. Then you just want to make sure that you're also paying attention to and having a growth mindset. Think about your growth mindset as learning how to fail and how to turn failure into opportunities for improvement, and just understand that it's part of growth and not a reflection of your worth. Challenge yourself, become more comfortable being uncomfortable. That's all part of that growth mindset. Sometimes growth requires you to do things that you don't want to do, but need to do to get to the goal. Get really comfortable being uncomfortable and setting and getting goals, even though it's not easy. One thing I will tell you is that oftentimes goals require more of you than you thought. And that's okay. Just get to the place where you're willing to do what it's going to take. And when you do that, when you push through that uncomfortable spot and do something anyway, and then you succeed, the amount of confidence that you will build for yourself is beyond anything. It is amazing. Keep that in mind. Keep pushing through those times that you're uncomfortable and get good at being uncomfortable. It will really help you become more successful in general. Then one thing that I think is super important is challenging negative self-talk. If you start paying attention to your internal dialogue, you will be flabbergasted at what happens in there. For me, I catch myself pretty often saying things about myself that are not true, or I don't want them to be true. And if I continue to repeat them, or I continue to encourage the negative self-talk, if I continue to do that, I will start identifying with those thoughts or those things that I say about myself, the self-talk. So identify what's negative and what thoughts are negative. Pay attention to when you criticize yourself and question the validity of those thoughts. Then you go to work reframing your perspective about those thoughts. Replacing negative statements with positive affirmations is good, like I am capable or I can handle this, instead of I can't handle this. I always do so poorly. Do something more true and repeat that. I'm capable and I can handle this. Now, one thing I have talked about before, and I will talk about it until the cows come home, is that if you do not believe the positive affirmation that you're giving yourself, you will never overcome whatever is in your way, depleting your confidence. So what you have got to do is make sure that you believe the positive affirmations you use, because if you don't, it won't do you any good and it won't get you any closer to confident. Then another thing that is really important, which I've already talked a little bit about, is just stepping out of your comfort zone. And this is where the lava tube comes in handy. So that experience for me, the lava tube, was just something was completely out of my comfort zone. It's not something I ever would have sought out. It's not something I've ever dreamed of doing. To be frank, probably had I not been in the group, I never would have done it. Taking on that new challenge, it expanded my mind about my capabilities and how I can survive something when I'm uncomfortable. So put yourself out of your comfort zone to create a belief in yourself for being able to do more things. Try new activities. Go do something you've never done before. Engage in unfamiliar experiences that can help you realize you have more potential, and I have no doubt that it will help build your confidence. Set yourself up for personal challenges, whether it's public speaking or maybe you just want to learn a new skill. I took a grant class just because I wanted to know more about grants. And although that doesn't feel like it would stretch me, it really was a stretch exercise for me because I had to step into an environment, a group of people I didn't know, and do some things I wasn't familiar with. Push your boundaries, and that will build your confidence. Then one thing that I really want you to work on is celebrating your achievements. Make sure you're taking the time to acknowledge your success, no matter how small it is. One way you can do this is by keeping a list or a journal or something to document your accomplishments, to remind yourself of what your capabilities are. And when you are able to look at them and remind yourself that you have a depth to you, you have strength to you, you have the ability and capability to do things, it's good to continue to keep track of any success you have. So keeping a list of what you've accomplished, what are you proud of? Then I want you to get into the practice of gratitude. This is one of the things that changed my world when I was in a place that was very, very dark. I spent every single day committing to finding 3 things I was grateful for, and preferably 3 new things. So I couldn't say the same 3 things every day. And sometimes that was literally something like, I'm thankful that I have running water. I'm thankful that I have a refrigerator to put food in. Sometimes I know that sounds to some that may seem very small or insignificant, but that is where I was in my life at the time. So practice gratitude for everything that you have. And then what happens is you start to see things differently. You realize that you probably have way more than what you're giving yourself credit for. There was a time where darkness was just filling my heart because of the loss of our children, having cancer, solidifying the fact that I could never have my own children, and I just would ruminate about bad stuff. But when I started that practice of 3 things every single day, it built my confidence because I realized there was so much more going on that was good than necessarily what I was holding on to that was bad in my mind. Shifting that focus from self-doubt to self-appreciation helps, and I cannot emphasize this enough. If you are on a journey right now that has taken you to a dark place, spend each day finding 3 things that you are thankful for each day, and I promise you it will help you in the long run. Then I want you to be able to practice success or visualize it. Think about what it feels like to experience success and confidence. Visualize it. Really get familiar with it. How do you talk? How do you dress? How do you walk in the world? How do you show up as a spouse, as a person who goes to work every day? How do you show up when you feel confident and you feel success? Visualize it and continually feel it. Be comfortable with being confident. In addition to visualizing it, you can write down daily affirmations or speak or write down positive statements about yourself to build a more confident mindset. Remember, your brain only responds when you believe the affirmation. So there's a balance. Using something today, say you're someone who has $0 in the bank and you try to go, I will have a bank full of $1 million tomorrow. Your brain cannot make that connection between 0 balance and $1 million within 24 hours. But if you say, I am going to make money, or I'm going to make $200 or $1,000 or whatever in the next 24 hours, your brain can believe that versus I'm going to make $1 million. Unless you, of course, are a millionaire and you know how to do that. Your brain won't believe it. So think about it like that. Check in with your affirmations and make sure they're aligned with your goals and they're aligned with what you believe about yourself. Here's the trick. If you don't know and you want help, this is where you still have time to grab a seat in my Q4 coaching package. It can be very difficult to understand your own thoughts, your beliefs, and that sort of thing. And that is one of the reasons that I offer coaching. And that's why I believe in coaching. Right now, I still have my Q4 coaching package that is 6 sessions between now and the end of the year. It helps you get that clarity you need around what you want. And it will help you align your thoughts, actions, and experiences to reach your goals. I can help you figure out what thoughts are in your way. That's just a side note. Not a big deal, but make sure that you know how to visualize your success. And if you don't, get help doing it. Lastly, what I want you to do is find support or consider consulting with a therapist or a coach. If for some reason you're struggling, like I was at one time, with the miscarriages, with not being able to have children, my confidence was shot. I couldn't figure out how I was valuable to my husband, to the world. It just made me question so many fundamental things about myself. My confidence just wasn't there. I definitely needed help. I went to therapy. I actually got coaching. I did all of it. So make sure that you get what you need and don't feel bad. If you're in a place that you need therapy or coaching, that's great. It's not a big deal. Do you realize most people over a life of their lifetime will experience the need a therapist, and most people who are highly successful have coaches to help them get there. Professional guidance is just a tailored person to help you get to what your underlying issues are, what's affecting you, and how to get to the place you want to be a little faster. That's why the highest paying sports professionals have coaches. That's why even people who are masters at what they do are tapping into other people through masterminds or other places where they're getting coaching. So don't forget, you have access to Q4 coaching if you want it. It's very reasonable. 6 sessions for $279, and you get email support in between the sessions, 3 mini trainings to help you build your confidence, and 30% off the confidence course that I'm releasing in January. If you've never tried coaching, I can tell you this. This is one of the most reasonable coaching packages by cost that you will ever find. I guarantee you will find value in this coaching. If you aren't at a place where you want to get coaching, or it's just not something you ever think you'll have, not a big deal. You can take the same strategies, implement them yourself, and you can build your confidence over time. It will help you face new challenges, and you'll get there with greater assurance and more positivity. I hope you have a fantastic week. I will see you next Tuesday. Hey, I want to thank you for listening in to the Crazy Confidence Coach podcast. I really hope you learned something valuable today. Can you do me the biggest favor? Right now, could you share the show with 3 people you know that might enjoy listening in? If you haven't already, I would greatly appreciate it if you took the time to leave a rating or review. This helps people just like you find the podcast so they can also get great fun tips about confidence. Then don't forget, come back each week and we will keep giving out little tips for how to increase your confidence, how to ditch that self-doubt, and stop your negative thought patterns so you can get back to your crazy confident self and pursue your biggest dreams fearlessly. See you next week. Love you big.